Good morning, I'm Velvet with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and thank you for joining me today for another segment of How Do I? Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about your sewing machine needles. Have you ever had issues with your sewing machine needles, maybe not knowing what type of needle to choose for the project, or maybe you suffer with skipped stitches or broken needles even? Well, today I'm here to help you with that. So let's go over the packaging of our needles here first. So here I have a package of universal needles. And universal needles work well for most projects. And on the majority of the needle packages that you see, they're going to have a set of numbers on them. So the package that I have here is a size 80-12. The 80 refers to European sizes, while the 12 refers to US sizes. And the 80 actually refers to the size of the needle itself. So it's 0.8 millimeters. And then same for going up or down sizes. With the sizes of needles, they range anywhere from a 60 all the way up to a 120, which is a very large needle. So the larger the number, the larger your needle. So most of the time for my sewing, I'm using an 80-12 or a 90-14. They're kind of the right in the middle sizes that work well for most projects. With your needles, it's also important to understand that there are different types of needles for different types of sewing machines. So for our domestic sewing machines, they usually are labeled by a couple different things. So a 130-705H is a home sewing machine, a 15x1 or an HA×1 all indicate a home sewing machine needle. And that's typically going to be listed either on the fronts of their packages or on the back somewhere. So besides our standard universal needles, we also have lots of other styles that you can use for your sewing. And it really depends on the project and what you're trying to accomplish with it. So we have two main styles of needles that I have here. We have universal, stretch, and ballpoint. These are all considered to be ballpoint style needles. So their points are not quite as sharp. They're intended to separate the fibers of fabric rather than puncture through them. The other styles that I have here, which are jeans or denim, quilting, sharps/microtex needles, embroidery, and top stitch are all forms of sharps needles. So the point on them are very sharp and they're intended to actually push apart or cut through the fabric as they sew to give you a better quality stitch. So starting off with our ballpoint styles here, we have two different styles of stretch. We have stretch and we have ballpoint, and each one have their uses. So our ballpoint has a little bit more of a rounder tip to it, and this one here is designed to push the fabric fibers apart to stitch things out. This one right here is best for more of your cotton style knits, anything that's like fleece or a double knit, anything like that is going to be really suited to a ballpoint needle. Then we have our standard stretch needles. This is going to be best for things that contain a lot of elastic. So lycra fabric, swimsuit materials, active wear, these are what this is going to work best with. Now we have our sharp section here. So we have our jeans or denim needles. And this is going to be best for jeans and denim, or things like canvas or any tightly woven fabric that can be a little bit tricky to sew through. Now on to quilting. So quilting needles are intended for quilting, and you can use this on cotton fabrics that are tightly woven, those heavy layers of batting. These penetrate all of those layers really easily and give you a really good quality stitch when you're doing quilting projects. Then we have our sharps and microtex needles. These work really great on your silks, microfibers, anything that is really densely woven as well because it's a sharp style needle. They're also great with top stitching, and they give you really smooth quality stitches for things like decorative options or things like buttonholes. Then we have embroidery needles, and embroidery needles are great for any of those projects where you're doing embroidery at high speeds or you're doing any kind of decorative stitching. This is going to be a great option for that and will give you a really clean quality stitch. Now onto our top stitch needles. Now these are intended to go through many thick layers of fabric to give you a really clean finished top stitch. So this is a great option also for your thicker threads because it does have a larger eye where the thread goes through. Now, the last three that I have here are more specialty styles that you may not use as often or even know that they're available. We have leather needles, and these are intended for real leather, not our faux leather, because this actually has a serrated edge that will cut through the leather to sew it for you. You don't want to use this on a faux leather because this will actually cut through the fabric and then will end up leaving puncture holes or strips that end up happening in between where you've sewn. So real leather for your leather needles. Then we have our anti-glue needles, and these are a great option for anything that is sticky. So if you're using any kind of adhesive on your fabric to hold pieces together, maybe a Wonder Tape or anything like that, this is a great option because it's going to help prevent the stickiness from getting stuck onto the needle itself. They actually have a Teflon coating on there so nothing gets stuck. And our last option we have here is a metallic needle. Metallic needles are great for metallic thread. So if you love a sparkly embellished thread, this is a great option for that. It has a large eye to accommodate those fine threads that have a tendency to break a little more easily, and this will help prevent that from happening. You might have also noticed that each one of these packaging has different colors to them. So the color coding on your needle packages is brand specific. It is not universal. So it's important to look at the packaging that you have to indicate what color it is that goes along with the needle style. Another thing to note is that some needles will have color coding on there and they'll have more than one color coding. This brand in particular only has one color on it to indicate the type of needle, but some brands actually have two bands of color towards the top of our needles, and one will indicate the type of needle and also the size of the needle. And these are usually going to be listed somewhere on their packaging to tell you what their color coding systems mean. We carry these really awesome books called Know Your Needles. This is a really great guide to pick up to learn more about the different types of needles that exist out there, when to use them, when not to use them, and they even go over a little bit of the anatomy of your different types of needles. Lastly, and probably one of the most important parts of your sewing machine needles is changing them frequently. It's very important to make sure that you change your needles often. We recommend doing that every 8 to 10 hours of sewing or every 2 to 3 projects, whatever is easier for you to remember. A nice new sharp needle will ensure that you have beautiful stitches and a project that's made to last. If you're unsure about how long you may have been using a needle, we do carry these great little My Pads. There is a small pin here located on one of the sections. You place the pin for whatever needle that you're using in your machine at that time, so then you remember what style is currently in your machine. You can also take the needle out of your machine if it's still good and able to use, and place it into one of these sections here that correspond with that needle so you can use it again. All right, do we have any questions on our needles this morning? All right, great, no questions. Well, that's awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining me this morning to learn a little bit more about your needles. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok for more amazing sewing content just like this, and have a great rest of your week.